All right, Sociology 5.1. In this outcome, you are asked to explain the theories of why people commit deviance and also to identify major types of crimes. So let's start with what is deviance? So deviance is a behavior, trait, or belief that departs from a norm. Okay, this should generate a negative response. In class, we talked about things like picking your nose in public is an act of deviance. Killing someone on the street, an act of deviance. All right, now in looking at deviance, this does a couple things. It requires that we examine our group norms and how we react to that behavior. All right, what is deviant in one culture may not be deviant in another. Our top two pictures, the stretching of your necks or lips, are not something we see here in the United States. It would be deviant. All right, whereas the bottom two, the splitting your tongue or the tattoos, that is something more normal here, but maybe deviant in another country. Along those same lines, we talked about this situation is important. We said that killing someone is deviant, but if you are a soldier and you kill someone, that is not considered an act of deviance due to the situation. All right, with deviance, some deviance is then classified into crimes. These are the most serious. These are usually breaking more of your mores as opposed to your folk ways. So laws can be divided into different categories: severity, age of the offender, potential punishment, and then the jurisdiction. Is it a state or federal case? Some examples include violent crimes, crimes against property, organized crimes, white-collar crimes, and victimless crimes. All right, so let's take a look at why deviance happens, some theories about this. From a functionalist perspective, would say that deviance serves a positive social function by clarifying moral boundaries and promoting social cohesion. This could be something with texting and driving, right? At first, we have, when texting first became a possibility, we had to first clarify what was allowed. All right, and then we join together. We have whole campaigns about not being distracted drivers as promoted social cohesion. So we've clarified what's the norms with cell phones in cars, and we've joined together in enforcing that. All right, the conflict theory would say that deviance happens as a result of social conflict. So those with power make certain actions deviant in order to keep their power. They marginalize or criminalize people who threaten their power. And therefore, inequality is reproduced in the way deviance is defined. This may be something with homelessness. Those with homes have made it against the law for you not to have a home. Right? You've therefore ensured that those people are not part of your community. In between the functionalist and the conflict theory is the structural strain theory. This is kind of merging the gap. Robert Merton, who we've talked about in Outcome 1, says that when there are goals in society that people want to achieve, but they cannot reach those goals, it creates a stress or a strain because people are aware of the goals, but they do not have the means to achieve them. All right, and our last perspective is the interactionalist perspective. This is the one that focuses on everyday behavior and why or how a person comes to commit a deviant act. So this is looking more at an individual experience. The differential association theory says that we learn deviance from interacting with our deviant peers. In health class, I know they talk to you guys about show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future, meaning that if you're hanging out with people who are deviant, breaking laws, then you are more likely, okay, which does have some very real consequences. All right, we also have a labeling theory under interactionalists, and this states that deviance is caused by external judgments that change a person's self-concept. This feels very much like the looking glass self. And then the way that we respond. Becker, sociologist Howard Becker, suggests that labeling can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy that causes something to become true. Right? So this explained further, we've got the stereotype threat. Right? The fear of performing poorly and thereby confirming stereotypes about one's social group, causing students to perform poorly. All right, so maybe it's the idea that women are not good at math. All right, we've got this threat, right, and so then it becomes an actual reality. The stereotype promise, self-fulfilling prophecy, in which positive stereotypes lead to positive performance outcomes. All right. On the flip side, maybe it's that men should be good at math and science, right? And so therefore they are. All right, we also have in this theory, we've got something called a stigma. Describes any physical or social attribute that devalues a person's or group's identity and may cause exclusion to those who are devalued, right? If something is undesirable, if you are truant, if you are a deviant, okay, there may be a stigma with that, all right? And then there's passing, when the stigmatized individual may try to pass as if they are part of the mainstream. Okay, so as if they want to try to ignore those stigma identity. Right, so just as a review, deviance, okay, is a behavior that is considered deviance if it violates the values and norms of a group. Right, and then crime is the violation of a norm that has been codified into law. We talked about in class, kind of like in math, all squares are also rectangles, right? All crime is an example of deviance, but not all rectangles are square. Not all deviance is criminal behavior. That's everything.